Hello, lovelies, and welcome back to Flight of Freedom. I want to start today by inviting you to imagine something with me. Imagine you have a guard dog. This dog lives in your house and it loves you fiercely. It thinks its entire job is to keep you safe. Whenever it thinks there might be danger, it barks loudly, aggressively, and non-stop. Now here's the problem. This dog can't actually tell the difference between a real intruder at the door and the postman dropping off a letter. It barks just the same because it believes both are dangerous. That's what the fear of weight gain is like. It's your brain's guard dog. It thinks it's protecting you from something life-threatening, so it barks and it barks. Don't gain weight. Don't eat that. Don't go there. And it feels so loud, so convincing, that you believe it must be true. But what if it isn't? What if the barking isn't proof of danger, but proof of protection? What if the fear of weight gain isn't the enemy at all, but a misguided attempt by your brain to keep you safe from feelings it doesn't believe you can handle? And that's what I want to talk about today. Because believe me, I know how overwhelming this fear can feel. For years, it was the thing I thought I could never get past. It stopped me in my tracks over and over again. But when I began to understand it differently, not as truth, but as a coping strategy, something changed. So in this episode, we're going to explore why the fear of weight gain shows up, why it feels so incredibly convincing, and what it's really covering underneath, and how you can begin to work with it compassionately instead of fighting against it. And, as always, I'll share some of my own story, because I know how lonely it can feel to think you're the only one battling this. You're not, sweetheart. So if the fear of weight gain feels like the one thing standing between you and freedom, stay with me. By the end of this episode, I hope you'll see it in a whole new light. The brain's real job is survival, not happiness. So let's start right at that foundation, the brain. So often we think our brain is supposed to be on our side. We think it should be helping us to feel calm, confident, and joyful. And then, when it doesn't, when it bombards us with fear and anxiety, we feel like it's betraying us. But your brain's number one job is not to make you happy. It doesn't actually care if you're happy or not. Its primary purpose is survival. It exists to keep you alive. And if it has to choose between you being happy or you being alive, it will choose alive every single time, even if that means you feel awful in the process. This is why your brain sometimes feels like it's against you. It's not actually trying to make your life miserable. It's trying to keep you safe from what it perceives as threats. And one of its fastest, most reliable survival tools is fear. Think about it. Fear is designed to keep us out of danger. Our ancestors needed fear to survive. Fear is what kept them from running into a lion's den, eating poisonous berries, or wandering too close to a cliff edge. Fear tells us, stop, don't do that, you might die. That's the same mechanism at play when you feel the fear of weight gain. Your brain has decided that weight gain equals danger. Not physical danger like a lion, but social or emotional danger. Danger of rejection, abandonment, humiliation. And once your brain believes something is dangerous, it will trigger fear to stop you from going near it. The key thing to understand is this. The brain is not wired to distinguish between real threats and perceived threats. If your brain believes weight gain equals danger, it will respond as if you're standing on the edge of a cliff. Your nervous system fires up, your thoughts spiral, and your body goes into panic mode. And that's why the fear of weight gain can feel so overwhelming, so physical, and so real. because your brain is literally running its survival program. But survival doesn't equal happiness, and what your brain believes is safety might actually be keeping you really stuck. Why the fear of weight gain is a coping strategy. Let's look more closely at how fear of weight gain actually works in your life. The fear doesn't just show up at random, it arrives at very particular times. Times when you're overwhelmed, stressed, or flooded with emotions that feel too big to handle. Imagine you've had an argument with your partner. You walk away feeling angry, hurt, and misunderstood. Or maybe your boss criticizes you at work and you feel small and ashamed. Or a friend cancels on you and you feel rejected and unwanted. These are raw, vulnerable emotions. And if you grew up in an environment where emotions weren't safe, where sadness was shamed, anger was punished, or needs were ignored, then those feelings can feel terrifying in adulthood. So what does your brain do? It gives you an escape hatch. It says, let's not feel this. Let's focus on something we can control instead. And it hands you a thought. This is happening because you've gained weight. If you just fix your body, everything will be okay. And suddenly, instead of drowning in sadness or sitting with rejection or tolerating shame, you've got a plan. Restrict tomorrow, exercise harder, buy smaller clothes. It doesn't matter that the plan won't actually solve the real problem. What matters is that it feels solvable. It gives you a sense of control. That's why this fear is so sticky, because in the moment it works. It distracts you from unbearable feelings and hands you something tangible to focus on. Let me give you some examples of how this shows up. You feel lonely because a friend hasn't replied to your message. That's painful. Your brain swoops in. Must be because of how you look. Lose weight and people will want you. You feel anxious because money is tight. That feels scary and out of your control. So your brain says, focus on your body. You can control that. You feel grief bubbling up about something from your past and that feels unbearable. So your brain interrupts. Don't go there. Just make sure you don't gain weight. The brain is basically saying, forget these feelings. Let's give you a problem you can fix. And here's the kicker, the problem it gives you is false, but the relief you feel in the moment is real. That's why so many of us got hooked into the eating disorder behaviors in the first place, because the cycle works. Restricting, exercising, controlling weight, it temporarily calms the chaos. It gives us a sense of order in the middle of an emotional storm. The tragedy is that the strategy keeps us trapped because the feelings don't go away. They're just pushed down, and the more we use weight fear to avoid them, the scarier those feelings become. So let's have some conversations with the brain, how the fear of weight gain actually hijacks reality. And the thing about the fear of weight gain is it's not just a passing thought, it's a whole conversation in your head. Your brain takes a situation, translates it into weight language, and then tries to convince you that fixing your body is the solution. And it does this so quickly, so automatically that it feels like truth. Let's look at some examples. An argument with your husband. I feel hurt, misunderstood, and really angry right now. Brain, that's too dangerous. Don't sit in that. If you feel anger, you might lose love. Let's make this about your body. This is happening because you've gained weight. Wait, what? I was talking about feeling hurt. Your brain, no, that's too raw. Don't touch that. Just fix your body and the relationship will be safe again. So you're saying if I lose weight, he won't be angry. Brain, exactly. Lose weight, control food. That's the plan. And suddenly, instead of processing anger, you're body checking in the mirror or planning the next restriction. Let's say a friend cancels plans. I feel rejected. Maybe she doesn't want to see me. Brain, dangerous thought. That means you're unlovable. Quick, make it about weight. She cancelled because you've put on weight. But she said she was busy with work. Brain, nope, don't trust that. It's your body. If you just lose weight, she'll want to be around you again. You, so the fix is shrinking myself? Brain, always shrink and you'll be safe. And you don't notice the dozen other reasons she might have cancelled because your brain filters them out. Let's look at work stress. You, my boss criticised me and I feel ashamed and small. Brain, too overwhelming. Let's not feel shame. Let's make it about weight. You feel ashamed because of how you look. You, really? That's why I feel this way? Brain, of course. Look around. Everyone thinner gets respected. If you just lose weight, you'll feel confident again. And so, instead of working through shame or asking whether your boss was being unfair, you're back to obsessing about food. This is the cycle. Something happens, you feel raw emotion and your brain hijacks it. Nope, too dangerous. Let's make it about weight instead. And it feels real because it comes with a plan, a neat little to-do list. Restrict, exercise, shrink. My brain did this to me. Let me share how this played out in my own recovery. My husband made a comment about food, probably with no intent to hurt, but instantly my brain twisted it. My brain said, he thinks you're greedy. He thinks you're eating too much. If you keep going, he'll stop loving you. Me, but he's always been supportive. Brain, doesn't matter. Look at him now. He's quieter tonight. That's proof. You better restrict tomorrow. And there I was, spiraling back into restriction. Not because of him, but because my brain hijacked the situation, turned it into weight fear, and gave me a plan. And then there was that time at the cafe, sitting with a friend, staring at a cookie I desperately wanted, and my brain screamed, don't you dare. If you eat that, you'll gain weight, you'll be judged, you'll lose everything. Me, but I'm hungry and I want it. My brain, no, people will stare. You'll be the greedy one. You'll never stop. It's safer to restrict, safer to shrink. It wasn't about the cookie at all. Underneath was the fear of judgment, of being visible, of being seen eating freely. But my brain made it about weight. I also had to do clothes shopping online because I couldn't bring myself to try on clothes in the shop. The shame felt unbearable. So I had to buy bigger clothes online. My brain said, look at you, buying bigger sizes, proof you're failing, proof you're disgusting. Me, but bodies change in recovery and this is part of healing. My brain, no, don't trust that. If you just lost weight, you wouldn't need this. Fix your body, that's the only way out. Again, it was not about the clothes. It was about shame, about vulnerability, but my brain turned it into weight. And when the edema hit and my body swelled with water and it felt itchy and tight, my brain panicked. You're ballooning. You've lost control. This will never stop. Me, but I've heard that this is part of healing. My brain, no, look, people are staring. They're judging you. It's proof you're disgusting. Proof you've made a mistake. But what was really happening was my body was healing and repairing, but my brain only knew fear. And intimacy. I couldn't let my husband touch me. My brain said, he can't possibly want you in this body. If you let him near you, you'll be rejected. And I said, but he tells me he loves me. My brain said, he's lying. Shrink, lose the weight. It's the only way to feel safe. And what was underneath was vulnerability, terror of rejection, fear of being seen. But my brain made it all about weight. This is what the brain does. It takes messy, unbearable emotions like shame, rejection, vulnerability, grief, and translates them into the fear of weight gain. Because fear of weight gain comes with a plan. And then, through cognitive bias, it filters reality to prove them right. A quiet husband, a tired boss, a cancelled plan all become proof that weight is the problem. And so the cycle repeats until you begin to pause, notice the hijack and say, wait, this isn't about my weight. This is about what I'm feeling underneath. But the fear feels so convincing, and this is really important because fear of weight gain doesn't just arrive and sit there. The brain works very hard to convince you that it's right. This is where cognitive bias comes in, specifically confirmation bias, the brain's tendency to notice, remember, and exaggerate evidence that supports what it already believes, whilst ignoring anything that doesn't fit. So if your brain has decided that weight gain is dangerous, it will then filter every situation through that lens, and everything you see becomes proof. For example, your partner seems quiet at dinner. Your brain says, see, he's lost interest in you because you've gained weight, proof you need to control again. But the reality is he was just tired. Your boss doesn't acknowledge your work in a meeting. Your brain, proof they don't respect you because of how you look. But the reality is they were distracted with their own deadlines. A friend compliments someone else. Your brain, proof that thinness equals worth, proof that you'll only be loved if you shrink. But the reality is people compliment others for all sorts of reasons. And when you do restrict and lose weight, people often do validate it. Wow, you look great. You're so disciplined. Society praises what's actually self-destruction. And your brain lights up. See, I was right all along. Smaller is safer. Restriction works. That moment of praise carves the neural pathway even deeper. And before you know it, the fear of weight gain no longer feels like an option. It feels like truth. This happened to me constantly. When I was gaining weight in recovery, and my husband was quieter one evening, my brain went, proof, he's pulling away. He doesn't love you in this body. When I had to buy those bigger clothes online, my brain said, this is proof, you're failing, you should have kept control. When the edema made me swell and someone glanced at me, my brain twisted it, proof, they're disgusted, you can't go on like this. In reality, my husband was just tired. Buying bigger clothes was simply meeting reality, and that person who glanced at me was probably lost in thought, but my brain couldn't see that. It filtered everything through weight gain is danger. And this is why the fear feels unshakable, because it isn't just one thought, it's a whole system in your brain, a trap, distraction, plan, and then proof seeking. The proof is often false, but it feels real, and the more you believe it, the more the cycle repeats. The good news is, once you can name it, once you can say, this is confirmation bias, my brain is filtering for proof, you begin to lose its grip. Now let's go deeper. If the fear of weight gain isn't really about weight, what's it about? Almost always underneath is a fear of emotions and a fear of relationship wounds. The deeper fears underneath are like the fear of rejection. If I gain weight, I'll be unloved, abandoned, and left behind. The fear of shame. If I'm in a bigger body, people will judge me and I'll collapse under the humiliation. The fear of visibility. If I take up more space, I'll be noticed. Being noticed feels unsafe. The fear of vulnerability. If I stop controlling my body, all my messy feelings will spill out and I don't believe I can survive them. The fear of not being enough. Deep down, this is often the root. If I'm not thin, I'm not enough. For me, restriction kept me away from grief. My father's death broke something open in me. Childhood trauma I'd suppressed for decades came rushing up. Restriction and the fear of weight gain gave me a way not to feel it. Every time I cried in front of the mirror, it wasn't really about my body. It was about grief, shame, and a lifetime of believing I wasn't enough. Every time I avoided intimacy with my husband, it wasn't really about weight. It was about fear of rejection, fear of being truly seen. And even that cookie moment, staring at it, it wasn't about sugar or weight. It was about the terror of being judged, of no longer hiding, of being visible in my recovery. And when the edema hit, the swelling wasn't just physical discomfort. It triggered deep shame. My brain told me it was about weight, but underneath it was really about not being able to control what people thought of me. So often the body becomes the battleground for the pain we don't know how to face. Controlling food and weight becomes the way to avoid grief, loneliness, shame, abandonment. But the feelings themselves won't kill you. They're not lions waiting in the grass. They're just emotions, energy in motion. And when you let yourself feel them, they rise, they move, and they pass. Recovery is about turning back toward those feelings, gently, safely, and saying, I can handle this now. I don't need to hide behind weight gain fear anymore. We can work with the fear now we understand that the fear of weight gain is a coping strategy, a distraction, a plan, an illusion of control reinforced by bias. But what do we do with that? First, I want to say the goal is not to get rid of fear. You can't eliminate fear. Fear is a normal, healthy human emotion, and it's part of being alive. The goal is to change your relationship with fear, to recognize it, to name it, and to respond differently. The very first step is awareness. When your brain says, I can't gain weight, pause, take a breath, and remind yourself, this is my coping strategy. This is my brain trying to protect me. This is not truth. It sounds so simple, but that tiny pause is powerful and it interrupts the automatic spiral. Get curious, then ask yourself, if this isn't really about weight, what else could it be about? What feeling might I be avoiding right now? This is where journaling can be really helpful. Write down the sentence, if I wasn't worrying about the body right now, I might be feeling, and see what spills out. It might be loneliness, shame, rejection, anxiety, fear of failure, fear of not being good enough. The key is to start linking body fear back to feelings. And then this is the hard one. Sit with the feeling, because everything in you wants to run. But feelings don't last forever. Emotions are like waves. They rise, peak, and fall. Try a somatic check-in. Put your hand on your body and ask, where do I feel this fear? Maybe it's in your chest, your stomach, your throat. Instead of trying to get rid of it, just breathe into it and stay with it. 30 seconds, maybe a minute. Over time, your tolerance starts to grow. In my own recovery, I remember sitting at the table crying while my family encouraged me to eat, and the fear was so intense. But I let myself feel it, instead of running back to restriction. And the more I practiced that, the more I realized that feelings don't kill you. They move through you. Challenge the bias. When your brain says, see, proof they don't love you because of your body, pause and ask, what else could be true here? What am I not noticing? Maybe your partner is just tired. Maybe your boss was distracted. Maybe your friend cancelled because she was overwhelmed. This doesn't mean dismissing your feelings. Rejection still hurts. But it means not letting your brain hijack reality and funnel it all into weight. Finally, start to redefine what control really means. Control isn't in shrinking your body. That's not control, that's fear. Real control is choosing to stay present with your truth. It's choosing to nourish yourself even when fear screams not to. It's choosing to allow your body to heal even when edema swells and distorts it. In my recovery, I had to learn that true strength wasn't in restriction. True strength was sitting in front of the mirror sobbing and still choosing to eat. It was letting the edema run its course instead of fighting it. It was saying yes to intimacy even when I was terrified. That was control, and that was courage. So let's get practical. What do you actually say to your brain when it throws fear at you? I want to model some conversations you can practice. So let's use the argument with the husband. Your brain, he's upset with you because of how you look. If you lose weight, things will be fine. You, no, what I'm really feeling is hurt, and hurt is painful, but it's not about my body. I can feel hurt and I can still be safe. Let's look at the cafe with the cookie. My brain said, if you eat that, everyone will judge you. You'll lose control. You'll never stop. Me. Thank you, brain, for trying to protect me. But what I'm really feeling is fear of being visible. I can handle being seen, and my body deserves nourishment. Shopping for clothes. My brain. See? You're buying bigger sizes. It's proof you're failing. Me. No. This is proof my body is healing. My worth doesn't live in a label. The real feeling under this is shame. And shame isn't truth. It's a story I learned and I don't need to follow it. With the edema, my brain said, look at you, swollen, ballooning, proof you've lost control. This will never stop. Me. This isn't proof of failure. This is proof my body is repairing, and the feeling underneath is fear of the unknown, and I can sit with uncertainty. With intimacy, my brain says, he can't possibly want you in this body. You're going to be rejected. Me, what I'm really feeling is vulnerability, and vulnerability is scary, but it's also where love lives. I choose to lean in. Every time you answer back like this, you're creating new neural pathways. You're teaching your brain, I don't need distraction. I can handle feelings. I can stay. And over time, the fear of weight gain loses its power. It's still there, but it doesn't control you. So let's bring this together. We've seen today that fear of weight gain is not really about weight. It's about survival, about your brain trying to protect you when feelings feel too overwhelming. Your brain hands you a distraction. Fix your body, because that feels safer than sitting with grief, rejection, shame, or vulnerability. And then, through confirmation bias, your brain filters the world to prove itself right. So of course it feels real, and of course it feels overwhelming, but that doesn't make it truth. The truth is your worth has never lived in your body size. The truth is that what's underneath this fear are feelings, powerful, sometimes painful, but always, always survivable. And you are capable of feeling them. You don't need distraction. You don't need to shrink. You don't need to keep proving your worth by denying yourself life. So I'd like to close this episode with a short reflection, something you can do right now, wherever you are, as long as it's safe. If you can, place one hand on your heart and one on your tummy. Take a long, slow breath in through your nose and let it out through your mouth. Now bring to mind the fear of weight gain. Imagine it as a voice in your head. Maybe it sounds harsh, maybe panicked, maybe controlling. Hear it clearly. You can't gain weight. You'll be rejected. You'll lose everything. And then gently imagine turning to that voice and saying, thank you for trying to protect me. I see that you're scared, but I don't need you to protect me in this way anymore. Because I can handle feelings. I can handle sadness, rejection, loneliness, grief. They won't destroy me. I am safe to feel. Breathe that in. Notice what shifts in your body as you speak to the fear this way. And now ask yourself quietly, if this isn't about weight, what am I really feeling underneath? Let whatever answer arises just be there. No judgment, no fixing, just noticing. And breathe. Every time you do this, Every time you pause, notice the fear and name it as a coping strategy and turn toward the feeling underneath. You're rewiring your brain. You're teaching it that you don't need distraction to be safe. You're proving that you can feel and still survive. And that is what freedom looks like. So next time fear of weight gain shows up, and it will, I invite you to pause, breathe, and ask what feeling this fear is protecting you from right now. That simple question is the doorway to healing. And remember, you don't have to walk through that doorway alone. Inside the Eating Disorder Recovery Circle, we practice this together, noticing the fear, naming it as a coping strategy, and learning to feel what's underneath, surrounded by people who truly get it. And if you know you need more personalized support, someone to walk beside you, challenge your bias, and hold you through the hard emotions, my one-to-one coaching is here for you too. You're not broken, you're not weak, and your fear is not the truth. You are a human being learning to feel, and that is the bravest work you will ever do. So until next time, sweetheart, breathe deep, hold yourself with compassion, and keep choosing freedom.